to begin the understanding of the 1920s is to start with the decade before. They were coming out of World War I. They were coming out of a number of different social movements and changing ideologies that were happening.
Yeah, one of the things earlier that I was talking to Hope about was the idea of propaganda sort of switching after the First World War into this public relations idea. And so Edward Bernays, who was the nephew of Sigmund Freud, actually was one of these huge names in early advertising or public relations, and he switched after the First World War. He was one of the council, like the Public Relations Committee council members.
So the first thing that happened was the 18th Amendment. Prohibition went into effect in January of 1920. It would not be repealed until 1933.
What a decade.
What a decade and 3 years. And following very shortly after that was the 19th Amendment, women's suffrage, women had the right to vote. Harry T. Burns of McMinn County,
which is right down the road from us.
Yes,
literally
absolutely.
Right down the road.
Received a letter from his mother saying, please vote to ratify this amendment, essentially. And he was very close to his mother. She was a self-made woman. She ran her whole family by herself, ran her whole estate by herself. So he switched his vote and changed the entire 20th century by giving women the right to vote.
But what about the things that those amendments caused? Like
Speakeasies,
bootleggers,
moonshining.
I bet that you guys might recognize some of the names of people who ended up being bootleggers and then got a little bit famous afterwards. We have a tendency to idealize a lot of history, a lot of different times, basically,
Absolutely.
that aren't the one that we were born in, seem just, to be great. And I think that we definitely have a tendency to do that, to say, like, oh, that was, like, so great, I wish I was alive then.
Yes.
And it's easy to do that with social media, especially today, to look back and be like, oh, well, if this is what they were living like, man, like the Great Gatsby, like Leonardo DiCaprio, like living like that, like, whoa.
Drop the bad and keep the good. That's what we do in history.
Drop the bad, yeah, exactly.
Definitely. We do that so often, so I think that it's important to touch on the bad, because it goes right over a lot of people's heads.